Beloved soul, if you are on this sacred journey of divine union, you already know, it is not for the faint of heart. The connection between the divine masculine and divine feminine is one of the most profound and transformative experiences a soul can endure. But with this depth of love comes equally deep pain. And if you are here, reading this, it is likely because your divine masculine has hurt you, perhaps even abandoned you, leaving you questioning everything. I see you. I feel you. I know the ache of longing, the torment of unanswered questions, the endless loop of wondering, does he even regret what he did? Does he feel this pain, too? The truth, beloved, is that the divine masculine is not as untouched by this connection as he may seem. He feels it. He knows it. And yes, when the awakening begins, he regrets it. But the regret of the divine masculine is not like ordinary regret. It is a soul-shaking, ego-shattering realization that forces him to confront his deepest wounds, his fears, and the truth of what he has done. So how do you know if this awakening has begun? How do you recognize the signs that your divine masculine is wrestling with the weight of his choices? Let me guide you through what his soul is experiencing. Number 1, the silence that speaks volumes. One of the first and most powerful signs of the divine masculine's regret is his sudden withdrawal. The man who once stood firm in his choices, who maybe even dismissed your love, now fades into the background. He is no longer the loud, confident version of himself that you once knew. Instead, he retreats, not just from you, but from the world that once validated his avoidance. His usual distractions, his work, his social circle, the karmic attachments that once seemed to hold his focus, begin to lose their appeal. He is no longer present in the way he once was, because regret has a way of pulling the soul inward, forcing it to listen. This silence is not just about his absence from your life. It is the absence of the illusions he once clung to. When he walked away, he convinced himself that he could move on, that the bond between you was something he could shake off like a passing storm. But now, in the emptiness, he realizes the storm was not outside of him, it was within. And now, without the noise, he is left with only one thing, the truth. And the truth is that you were never just an experience. You were never just another chapter. You were, and still are, a part of him. And that realization terrifies him. You may not see his regret in physical form, but you will feel it in ways that words cannot explain. Maybe you wake up thinking about him out of nowhere, his presence pressing against your energy like an unseen force. Maybe he lingers in your dreams, appearing in flashes, in memories that resurface when you least expect them. Maybe you hear a song that sends shivers down your spine, lyrics that seem to echo the very thoughts he cannot say aloud. This is because his soul is calling out to you. Even if his ego is still too afraid to act, his energy is restless. His regret vibrates across the distance between you, pulling at the invisible threads that have always bound you together. But here is where your power lies, divine feminine. His silence is not an invitation for you to chase, to demand answers, to seek closure where he is not yet ready to give it. His silence is his initiation into the depths of his own healing. Let him sit with it. Let him feel what it means to lose you. Because only in this silence will he come to understand that what he walked away from was never just you, it was his own destiny. Number 2, the subtle attempts to reconnect. The divine masculine is rarely direct in his regret, at least, not at first. His soul may feel the weight of his mistakes, but his ego resists full surrender. Instead of confronting you with an open heart, he tiptoes around the edges of your energy, searching for signs that the door is still open. These attempts are rarely bold declarations of love. They come as whispers, as soft echoes of the connection he once tried to suppress. You may notice his presence lingering in unexpected places. A like on an old post, as if he is reminding you that he still exists in your world. A random message, one that says nothing and everything at the same time. Hope you're doing well, or this reminded me of you. Messages that hold no real depth, yet you feel the silent longing beneath them. Perhaps he suddenly adds a song to a playlist you both once shared, the lyrics speaking words he cannot yet say himself. And then, there are the indirect attempts. The way he might ask a mutual friend about you, carefully wording his questions so it doesn't seem obvious. The way he lingers in the spaces you frequent, hoping for an accidental meeting. The way he watches you, from afar, waiting for some unspoken permission to step back into your life. But you, beloved, you feel the truth beneath these gestures. He is not reaching out because he has moved on, he is reaching out because he cannot. Regret has settled into his bones, and he is searching, in whatever way he can, to keep even the faintest thread of connection between you alive. And here is where your power lies. You do not have to respond to breadcrumbs. You do not have to validate his regret by lowering your worth. He must walk this path of accountability on his own. But know this, his soul is restless. And that means he is awakening. Number 3, the emotional breakdown no one sees. Regret is not just a passing thought for the divine masculine, it is a storm. And when it hits, it does not come gently. It arrives like a tidal wave, breaking down the walls he built to keep your love out. At first, he resists it. His mind clings to the justifications he once used to convince himself that walking away was the right choice. She deserves better. I wasn't ready. It wouldn't have worked anyway. He tells himself that life is fine without you, that he is moving forward, that he made the logical decision. But regret does not obey logic. It waits. It lingers in the shadows of his consciousness, growing stronger in the quiet moments when there is no one left to distract him from the truth. And then, when his mind is too tired to keep up the illusion, the weight of his loss crashes down. It comes in waves. One moment, he is functioning, laughing with friends, buried in work, pretending the emptiness does not exist. The next, he is drowning in memories. He remembers the way you looked at him like no one else ever did. The way your presence felt like home. The way you held space for his soul, even when he could not hold space for himself. And the worst part, he knows he pushed it away. You may sense this shift in him. If you happen to see a recent picture, there is a sadness in his eyes that was not there before. a weariness that no amount of pretending can mask. If your bond is strong, you might feel his regret in your own energy, waves of sorrow that seem to appear out of nowhere, an aching in your heart that does not belong to you. This is because his regret is reaching you. But he must face it alone. No one else will witness the breakdown behind closed doors, the restless nights, the unspoken tears, the silent prayers for a second chance. His soul is learning the lesson it tried so hard to avoid. And in this pain, his awakening begins. Number 4. The quiet steps toward healing. True regret is not just about feeling bad, it is about wanting to change. And when the divine masculine reaches the depths of his regret, something within him shifts. At first, he may not even understand what is happening. He only knows that the distractions that once kept him numb no longer work. The things he once enjoyed feel empty. The mask he wore so well begins to crack, and beneath it, he comes face to face with the version of himself he has long avoided. At first, he tries to outrun it. He throws himself into self-improvement, believing that external changes will heal internal wounds. He goes to the gym, works harder, sets new goals, anything to prove to himself that he is in control. But eventually, he realizes that none of it truly matters unless he heals the root of his pain. No achievement, no new relationship, no amount of distraction can silence the truth. He lost something sacred, not because he was unworthy of love, but because he did not yet know how to receive it. This is where his transformation begins. Maybe he starts therapy, seeking answers in places he once dismissed. Maybe he turns to spirituality, diving into the very mysteries he once ran from, searching for meaning in the connection he could never quite escape. Maybe he begins breaking away from toxic cycles, old friendships, karmic ties, limiting beliefs that kept him small. And in this process, his regret begins to shift into realization. He sees now that the problem was never you. It was never your love. The problem was the walls he built around his own heart, the wounds he refused to acknowledge, the fear of intimacy that made him sabotage something divine. And now, he is being forced to do the work to become the man he was always meant to be. Number 5. The moment he seeks forgiveness. And then, beloved, comes the moment of truth. When the divine masculine is truly ready, when his regret has moved beyond guilt and into genuine accountability, he will reach out. But this time, it will not be with breadcrumbs. It will not be with half-hearted attempts to gauge if you are still there. It will not be with a vague, "I miss you," or a nostalgic memory meant to pull on your heartstrings. No. This time, he comes with sincerity, with humility, with the weight of his lessons fully realized. You will know this moment when it comes. His energy will feel different. His words will not be empty, nor will they be laced with excuses. He will not blame circumstances, timing, or past wounds as reasons for his mistakes. Instead, his soul will speak the truth. I see now. I see what I did. And I am sorry. Not because he wants something from you. Not because he needs your validation to ease his guilt. But because he has finally faced himself. And here, Divine Feminine, is where your power lies. This is the moment where you must listen, not just with your heart, but with your intuition. His regret is real, but is he truly ready? Has he done the deep, inner work? Has he dismantled the patterns that caused him to run, to betray, to push love away? Or is he simply looking for comfort, seeking your warmth to soothe the pain of his own choices? Only you can answer that. But know this, his regret is never the final chapter. The real question is not whether he regrets losing you. The real question is whether he will rise from his regret. Whether he will stand in his divine truth and meet you in your power. And whether you, beloved, will continue to rise, with or without him. This journey is not easy, but trust that it is divine. If your divine masculine is feeling regret, it is because his soul is waking up. But your journey is not about waiting, it is about thriving. Keep healing. Keep rising. Keep shining in your truth. And if he is meant to return, he will. Not because he regrets, but because he has finally learned how to love you the way you deserve.